Hi, and welcome to episode 131 of the Ultimate Intimacy Podcast with Nick and Amy. And we are so excited for our guest today. We have world-renowned Alex Boye.
How much you need? How much do I owe you?
That's right. That's right. So, Alex, thank you so much for coming on our podcast. And we're going to be talking about a subject today that we've never talked about on our podcast, but it's something that touches, I think, most people's lives in one way or another. And I know you have an incredible story to share as well. And so we really appreciate being on the podcast today. And so maybe share a little bit about yourself with our audience.
Yeah, sure. My name's Alex Boye. I'm black. Anyway, I'm also from London, England, so I have a really weird accent, throws people off. But I was born and raised in London, England, and my mom and dad, Nigeria. And I got into music at probably around the age of 16, but it came because of a suicide attempt. And something powerful saved me, and it was the power of music. And I was in a bad place, depressed and stuff like that. My mom was, she was going to Nigeria for 3 weeks for a vacation. And so she put me with an uncle to stay with until she came back, and she never came back. Wow. And so that has been like really tough for me. When the most important person in your life leaves, it kind of has a trickle effect if you let it. I realized that I let it for so long, and I didn't realize how it affected everything in my life. And so, music became a very, very powerful outlet for me. And it really, really saved my life and blessed me. And so for me, I've always wanted to share music in a way that I could help save other people in the way that music has saved me.
Wow. What an amazing experience. Yeah, I mean, music plays such an important role in people's lives, and obviously, you've been able to touch so many lives through music. I mean, with looks like about billions of views on YouTube through your music, which is incredible.
Thank you. I realize that it all comes back to what is music made of? Words. And I'm from Africa, and I got to tell you, we have this very, very strong emphasis on words. Like, you go to certain villages, there's certain chiefs in certain villages in Africa. In fact, one in my village, which is like Surulere, which is northern Nigeria, there's some villages where if you are negative, they will throw you out of the village.
Really?
Because they say that it is infectious, and that infection could plague the whole village.
Wow.
That's how strongly they feel about words. And I remember I was listening to, I think it was Bruce Lee, who said, be careful the words that you use to yourself and to others, because it can make or break your life. And it said, that's why it's called spelling.
I believe that.
Literally, we cast spells by the words that we use to others, to each other, and most importantly to ourselves. That's why my mom used to get mad when I'd say something like, oh, I'm so stupid. My mom would get mad. She said, don't call yourself stupid, because when you start believing it, everybody else will. And I was like, oh, snap.
That is so true. And it's so powerful.
Yeah.
I believe that as well.
Yeah. So I leaned a lot on,
I was just going to say, I kind of want to move to that place. It sounds amazing.
Oh yeah, but there wasn't many people living there.
I know, but I think our world nowadays needs that positive.
They'll go kicked out.
we're in such a negative place in our world right now, and you see a lot more people getting depressed and getting down. And so I love what you're saying about the positivity of what you say or what you sing. And it's so true. We need that in the world today, and how powerful music can be.
Well, this is interesting, Nick and Amy. I was reading, I got these stats right here, and it says 970 million people worldwide have a mental health condition, me included, right? Anxiety affects 284 million people in the world.
Wow.
Depression affects 264 million people in the world. And, you know, it's going up. But one thing I realized is that, here's the interesting thing, in the third world places, parts of the world, it's a lot less.
Mm-hmm.
So I started wanting to study. Wait, that doesn't make sense. Because, you know, when you go to Africa, right, you have, like, you know, all our students and kids and everything, and they've got, you know, these beautiful charity organizations, especially here in Utah where I live. You know, we have more charities per capita than any other state, just doing good. And so, you know, they'll send them off to Africa and say, let's go help Africa, you know what I mean? And I'm not saying it in a disrespectful way. Let's go out and serve, you know? And then they come back and they're the ones that was served.
Absolutely.
They look at the people who, in their mind, have nothing in terms of what the world has, but they have everything because they were way happier than anyone that you know, any of your friends that you know in the first world country. So when you get back home, you're like, did I just get punked? and so I wanted to study that because I learned, I'm from this culture. And so I started talking to my mom. I started doing studies. I started talking to my uncle, you know, who is washing his clothes in the river, right, as we speak. It's so funny. We have this running joke at home with my kids when they don't want to eat. You know what I mean? You know, when they don't want to eat their food. And you know, when they'll say, there's people starving in Africa, right? I can tell you specific names. I'll say, Babatunde in Nigeria is starving right now and he has nothing. I'll give him specific names of my aunts and my uncles and my nieces. So it makes them feel so guilty. I feel terrible because they're like, okay. They start eating their vegetables.
Well, I
like, Dad, we hate it when you do that. You know?
Well, I want to hit on what you said.
But I learned something from there.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, I want to hit on what you said because our son actually got back from Africa about 4 weeks ago. And he came back and it was life-changing for him. He said, I've never met so many happy people. And he's just, the people were amazing. He's like, I want to move there. And this is an 18-year-old son that at this point in his life, most of the time are selfish and just want what they want. And this was life-changing for him. And he couldn't believe how happy these people were that had so little. And so I just wanted to.
Yes. And so I started studying that, and that's kind of how I wrote this book that I wanted to use for the youth, for especially our kids. And you know, we're losing so many beautiful young kids. We're talking like from the age of 12 to 18, 25, even older. And, you know, because we're all kids in my eyes, you know what I mean? We're all children of God, right? And I just feel that, what if I could tap into these things where everybody keeps saying how happy these people have nothing are. And I remember, I'm not even gonna lie, there was a time when I was homeless. I was eating food out of trash cans. Wow. And the reason why was because a lot of abuse and everything. But the interesting thing is, when I was out there on the streets of London with some of the most crazy people that you wouldn't have, your mom wouldn't have, you know, come into your house, would never invite them to your house. But the things that I learned from the people who had absolutely nothing is that they found a kind of joy that came from somewhere else. It didn't come from outside. Like us as human beings, we're like, if I get that promotion, happy, you know what I mean? Yeah. If I get, like, you know, I'm single, I've been single for 10,000 years. If I get married, happy, you know what I mean? If I get that promotion, when I get on that vacation, happy, you know what I mean? And I started realizing that, you know what I mean, my African families is that they are in a place where they don't have to have a vacation from where they are.
Yeah.
They're already on the vacation. They don't have to count the hours until the cruise so they can go off and get somewhere sunny and be happy. They're happy before the cruise even happens. And that's what I'm trying to learn for myself. Mm-hmm. And because I've learned some incredible things from my family members who have nothing. And then I realized, you know what? I'm the one that has nothing. They have everything. And I need to know what that is, so that I can share that with our people here in the first world country. That's been my mission, you know. So I've got this thing where my goal this year, because I was like, I'll still have that depression and stuff and sadness. I'm like, I got to go out and do something bigger than myself. So I decided I'm going to do a 100 school tour this year. I'm going to do 100 schools. And I'm going to talk about this. And the book is just called You Are a 10. Look, promote it here. It's called You Are a 10. And 10 being the perfect number. In certain African parts of Africa, they use that number as the perfect number. And that we came to this earth as a 10.
Yeah.
And that we start off with the fact that there's nothing you can do to change that.
Yep.
But what happens is, let's say when we get to school, we get to high school, then there's the comparison game. Everyone's comparing themselves to each other. Oh my gosh, this and that. And then we're comparing ourselves on Pimpstagram, because that's really what we're doing. We pimping, right?
Yep.
And on Facebook, right? Because we're just looking. That's all we're doing, right? We compare ourselves, and then what happens is that we start taking our numbers down. Oh, she looks way cuter than us. We take a number down. Oh my gosh, look at the house they're living in. Now our numbers go down.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I just broke up with my boyfriend or girlfriend. Now our numbers go down. No, that's not the case. What happens is that the number always stays the same. If you're divorced, you're just a 10 that's divorced. Not now that you're divorced, you're now a 2.
Correct.
Does that make sense? And so if you've lost your job, you're just a person that's jobless, but you're still a 10. And what I've noticed is that when you retain your ID, like I've noticed, have you noticed that when we go to a bank, we have to show our ID just so that we can get the money that's ours? That doesn't, what? But what happens when you lose your ID?
You're in trouble.
You can't get what is already yours. And what's happening is that we are losing our ID today, spiritually. We're losing our identity. We're forgetting this one thing. What this really is a secular version of I'm a child of God.
Love it.
Once I've noticed that even just something really simple, guys, like when I've done some bad things or made mistakes or things that I've regretted or things that I was like, man, I wish I could have done better. And then I throw the fact that I'm a 10 in it, then my perspective of it changes. And I realize that instead of beating myself up, I look at the fact that I'm a 10 and there's nothing I can do about that. And that's the greatest number. That's the number of perfection. I'm a child of God is the number of perfection. And then when you look at it that way, all of a sudden it makes life more understandable, because you're like, okay, I can get up and I can start again. We sometimes we define ourselves, like now, going through this divorce, I find myself as a person that's going through a divorce, but I'm like, wait a minute. I'm still a child of God, and so is my spouse. You know what I mean? And that we need to treat each other as such, but even more importantly, we need to treat ourselves as such, because we beat ourselves up a lot. We think that we're supposed to be this grand image of perfection, and when it doesn't align, when we don't see that in ourselves, then we're less than. That's a big fat lie.
I love that. And God always looks at us as always a 10, no matter where we're at in life or the mistakes we're making. He always looks at us that way. And I love that you're talking about we should look at ourselves that way as well. So I love it. Circling back to your story, you want to share a little bit more about, kind of your journey and the things that you went through and kind of what shaped you. And I think I love, sorry.
Oh, your words are beautiful. Just keep going.
Oh, no. I'll just go off in tangents. That's why I need you guys to, bring me back in.
These are the way we love it.
I can listen all day.
Absolutely.
I think marriages, life, people, personal, we just all need to be more positive and happy and put the electronics down and put the phones down and quit comparing ourselves. Like it's simple things. Yeah, it's so hard.
Yes, Amy.
So hard to do.
Yeah.
So hard to do.
Absolutely. Yeah. I got to the point where part of my story is, when I was 16, well, actually, let's go back a little bit before that. I was 11 years old and I got really sick. Well, it was just like a flu sick, you know what I mean? Nothing dangerous or crazy anything. And so my mom took me to the hospital. This was in London, and we went to the doctors, and the doctors kind of had this weird look on his face. He got the stethoscope and he put it to my chest and said, breathe, breathe. And then he sent me out of the doctor's office, and I was sitting outside the office, and then I heard like a shriek, like a scream from my mom. So I run in, I was like, Mom, what's going on? What's going on? And then she said, the doctor said there's something wrong with you. I'm like, well, I know that, but like, what's wrong? What's going on? But he said that I had spine curvature, which is scoliosis. And so most people with scoliosis, most people's spines are straight like that, but my spine was like curved, like Superman, and down like that. And he said that if I didn't have this operation, by the time I was in my late teens, I would be hunchbacked. And so they said, you got to have this operation. Within 2 weeks, I'm at this hospital. I wake up and I've just got blood just all over just my bed and everything. And I'm screaming, and I'm 11 years old. And I guess they put staples. They opened up the whole of my back. And then they put these 2 metal rods inside, right? It was hilarious. When I go through security, it's so funny. Anyway, that's another story. But but they got these titanium rods in me. I'm like Wolverine, you know what I mean? Yeah. And I thought that they were going to take them out. It's still there. It's never going to get taken out. But I remember when I had the operation and I woke up just in so much pain and just blood and everything, and they put staples, like these big old Office Depot staples, like 35 of them all along my back to keep the wound, to keep it, not from splitting. And I remember they put me in this room, and I hated this room, and because I just wanted to be home. But I realized I started looking out the window. And the interesting thing is that I healed quicker than all the people that was my age, all the kids that were my age in the same hospital ward. I healed like 2 months quicker than everyone else did. And nobody could figure that out. And I didn't know, because I'm like 11 years old. What do I know? But as I'm going back and talking to the doctors years later, and they're telling me, I'll never forget this, Alex, like we sent you out of the hospital and there are people still in their wheelchairs and just, and I'm like, what? Is this a miracle? I don't understand. Then I started, I used to remember, I used to go visit the other kids in the other wards, in the other rooms. And I just go say hi to them because I was feeling better, right? And they were feeling bad. So I'd go say hi to them, how you doing and stuff like that, and joke around and tell jokes and make fun of them, and they'd make fun of me, and we just had fun. And I was the joker, you know what I mean, in the hospital. So I'd sing like really dumb songs and take popular songs and make up dumb words to it and stuff. I guess that's where it started. So weird. But anyway, so I came to this conclusion. I realized when I go into the wards, the other hospitals, they didn't have windows. And what I mean by that is actually they did have windows, but there was a brick wall.
Oh.
And I was the only one, guys, that had a window. And when I looked through the window, there was this beautiful lake and a fountain. And I would always see seagulls like, and no matter what the weather was like, I just always just loved this sight that I would see. And honestly, something occurred to me that I thought to myself, I remember talking to Nicole Piker's Peak. She's like a big time Olympian, not bobsled. I think it's bobsled, but it's just the single one where your head is this much above the ice.
Oh, wow.
And she said that she crashed one time and she realized it was like she was looking in the wrong place, and it says that you will always go where you look. And so she crashed because she was looking in the wrong place, not on the path that was taking her away down. And so when I go back to that and I think of what my friends were looking at,
yeah,
compared to what I was looking at,
You had the light.
Light.
yep,
That was so powerful to me that there's a scripture in the Bible that says, where there is no vision, the people perish.
Mm.
And so I believe that my speedy recovery was because I focused on the beauty of what I saw in front of me. And my friends didn't have that. And that has been something that every time I forget, but then when I come to that realization, that's really what this book is about too. And that's really what this tour is about, where I just want to show people that wherever they're at, how hard it is. If you put a vision of your mind of something beautiful, you will always come out of it.
so powerful.
Always come out of it. This too shall pass, right? We know where that comes from. Sometimes it might pass like a kidney stone, but it still passes.
Yeah.
This too shall pass. And that's been a really big thing for me, going through hell, going through some of the worst things. When I add, and this too shall pass. Like, because if I don't do that, I'm in trouble, because then I stay there.
Mm-hmm.
So that's always been a big thing. I have these mental exercises that I do for myself when something goes real bad and something turns south, and then I'll voice it. I'll say, this really sucks. This is the worst thing ever. And this too shall pass.
Yeah.
And my whole perspective of it, guys, just changes.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes the situation doesn't change.
Yeah.
But because my perspective of it changed, then somehow it starts to change. There's a part in a scripture that talks about once we cleanse the inner vessel, then the outer vessel shall be cleansed. It doesn't say the other way around.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're trying to change everything on the outside. You can't change anything on the outside.
It's the inside. Yep.
It's crazy. It's one of the most crazy things, but it's the most simplest thing that I started trying. And guys, am I still going through hell? Yeah. Am I still excited about the future? Yeah.
Love it.
I love.
And that's what made the difference. That's what made the difference between me in the suicidal place that I was before. Was that I said, this is so hard. This cup is just too much for me. And this too shall pass. Yeah. I don't end there. I don't finish that story there. Have you noticed with us as human beings, you know, when we watch a movie and we're like, you know, times when we watch a movie and we're so excited and then it ends and we're like, what a sucky ending.
Yeah.
That was the worst ending. I just wasted.
Have you noticed why we and look at every time the sucky ending is always because it didn't end happy.
Yep. Exactly.
You notice that? When the director decides to make it not a happy, what? And we get all mad. And that's like us. When we don't feel we're having a happy ending,
yeah.
So we have to create it. We have to create it. And just by saying and, we're putting a colon instead of a period.
Yeah.
We're putting an apostrophe instead of a period.
Love it.
And that has changed. That's been one of the greatest blessings, because that's what my African family does. That's what I learned. They were always looking to the future. They were always looking for the light. Mm-hmm. They were always knowing that too would pass. And so they were always satisfied and joyful and submitting themselves cheerfully. You know, one of the hardest things, the hardest places to be, especially in the first world, is when you say to yourself, oh man, I'm just not even going to bother get excited about anything because someone's going to come and knock it down. I'm not even going to be excited about this job because somehow, some way, I'm going to lose this job. I'm not even going to be excited about this. And our guideposts are always the negative.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you switch your guidepost and do it the opposite way around and say, dude, my guidepost is always something positive. Even if you don't have anything positive to look forward to, you can guide yourself. Look, kids, babies, they have the most vivid imaginations. You notice that? I used to remember the stuff that I used to think about when I'm just like, I've got a pen and I'm like, ooh, ooh, ooh. Yeah. Like you do that now. You do that now, people think, okay, you got a problem, bro. You got to go see something about it, right? But take off. I'm 52, right? I'm 52 years old. I know I don't look it, you know.
Oh, just young.
You look 30.
Wild berry juice and everything. Black don't crack. But anyway, that's another story. If I was to take off 40 years or 45 years of my life and I did this, no one would say anything. They were like, oh, look at him. He's so cute. Look at him. He's just so fun. He's just so happy. He's got such a wonderful imagination. Oh, gosh. He's just, right? I do that now, right? But why did we stop? When you had that imagination, kids are never depressed. I'm talking like our little 4-year-olds, 3-year-olds, 2-year-olds. They're never depressed. And when they are, it don't last long.
Yeah.
They could fall off the highest flipping couch, you know what I mean? And just biff themselves. And all of a sudden, like, hey, what's going on, guys? What's next? They're always looking for what's next. They're always looking for what's good. Kids are never always looking for what's bad. But then we get older and life gets in the way and we reverse our guideposts. And now our guideposts are, okay, what's the next crap that's going to happen to us? How much more of this am I going to have to take? What else have you got for me? Because we spend our lives, listen, we live in a mediocre world. And I don't say that with bitterness. That's just the way it is. But we don't have to live there in our minds. Because we have a beautiful world we can create through our visions and whatever that is. And that can be our steering wheel to guide us. Let me share something with you. This was, according to American Psychological Association, the rate of individuals aged 18 to 25 years, let's go that one, reported that symptoms consistent with major depression increased by 63% from 2009 to 2017. Then it went even higher after the pandemic.
Wow.
In short, if we want to make our lives happy and worthwhile, we need to train ourselves to think healthy.
Yeah.
Not just in what we eat. Like I used to eat food out of trash cans, right? And I'm not proud of that. Thank you. You're doing it. I'm not proud of that fact. I was eating food out of trash cans. But can I tell you what I'm least proud of? Like that doesn't last long. That doesn't damage me. I did get food poisoning for like 3 days on the streets, homeless and eating out of the trash can. I remember that. It didn't last long. But the one that lasts even longer is the mental trash that we're eating.
Yes.
The mental diet that we're feeding from. And it all comes from our social media. Listen, I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying that we get what we look for. Sometimes we're scrolling and we're scrolling to find drama.
True.
Yeah, you're exactly right. We talk about.
Have you noticed that? We're not scrolling to find anything good. We're scrolling to find drama. And guess what? You get what you look for. Like Nicole Piker Speak said, she says, wherever you go is what you go get. So if I'm going through the worst hell and I strive to look for less drama, let me give you an example. I had a friend of mine who was in prison, just got out of prison. I went to visit him. In his apartment, no furniture, no nothing. He had, 2 slices of bread in his fridge, a half-eaten apple, and he'd just come out. He lost his family because of what he had done and everything. He was trying hard to be in a repentance process. Prison was his repentance process. He came out. And I remember when I walked in, there was like a little TV. And I walked into his house, into his apartment, and he had on rotation cartoons. I'm talking like Bugs Bunny cartoons and like Sibbity Sam and Disney cartoons. Like, and he had it over and over and over. And I'm like, bro, what are you doing? Why are you watching all these little cartoons? You're like 50-something years old and you watching these cartoons.
They're fun.
And I'll never forget what he said to me. Yeah, see, Amy, you've alluded to something, a powerful secret. So here's what he said. He said to me, Alex, if you've seen the things that I've seen, that's what I needed. I needed ultimate cheesy stuff to literally take my mind off the hell that I've experienced. The moment my mind goes back to it, it starts to drive, become the rudder. A small rudder steers a big ship. He said, I had to change the direction of my rudder. I was like, what? And then he started telling me all the books that he started reading in the prison. You know what I mean? The power of the magic of what is it now? He talks about the magic of thinking big. And he talked about reading Vincent Peale books that talk about the power of the mind. He talked to me about how he had to focus on perfect vision. And that the perfect vision, you don't always have it out there, but you have it here. You could create whatever perfection, whatever vision you want. That was imagination. And he told me about how Albert Einstein, he read a quote that said, imagination is the vision of a coming future attraction of your lives. That we need to continue to imagine. We need to continue to dream. It's not dumb. It's not stupid. It's not a pipe dream. It is literally becomes the backbone of the direction of where your life can go. So this is this 52-year-old dude from the hood living in a shack with an apple, giving me, dropping major wisdom to me. Can I tell you, after two years, you know where he is now? He's got a job. He's remarried, right? Him and his wife, his past wife, have an incredible relationship and they are blown away by how he's changed. His kids are speaking to him now. Like all this stuff. And it came from nothing that he bought.
Yep. All up here.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So
he had nothing. He was like an African on the street, the dirt streets.
Amazing.
But he found everything. And that changed him. That changed everything.
Incredible.
And that's what I want to write about.
Where
Anyway,
can we get your book? I'm so excited to read it.
Well, it's coming out May the 1st.
May 1st.
And right now, if you can pre-order it, if you can, well, actually right now, it's just like, we'll just put your email, go to alexboye.com, alexboye.com, and click You Are a 10. And there's a school tour and it'll just tell you, like, just sign your name. And then we'll tell you when the book comes out. But it's coming out May the 1st, which is Mental Health Awareness Month.
Well, and we'll make sure that we have that on the app as well once it's available. We'll stay in touch with Alex and also share real quickly before we have to go a little bit about what you're doing to help people with depression.
So what I'm doing right now is that I've just been wanting to focus on something that's bigger than me. And I found that that's really helped my depression. And I hardly get it now in the way that I used to. But I decided I'm going to do I want to visit 100 schools this year.
Awesome.
On a school tour. And it's called the Bend Not Break, You Are a 10 tour. And I just want to share this. I want to share what I learned from my African ancestors who are still alive, living in dirt roads and seeing how happy they are and what I've learned from that. And I want to share it with our people wherever I can. And so wonderful. I'm going to use this and You Are a 10 tour and traveling and do that. So if you want to know where I'm going to go, if you want me to come to your school, if you're a teacher or whatever, just go to alexboye.com I want to do 100 schools this year. And because I feel that our kids are our future, man. And I want to share something. My mom always used to say, prevention is better than cure. See, we wait to treat someone when the problem is already there.
Yeah.
But if we can treat ourselves before the problem comes, then you'll never get to that point. That's why, you know, it's like my mom always say, prevention is better than cure. And I never understood what that meant.
Absolutely.
She'd say in Africa, prevention is better than cure. So that's what this is. You know, we got to start where we are and start now. Start with our young folk, even younger folk who might not even be going through that yet, and inoculate them with that goodness, inoculate them with that vision, and to keep their imagination. Don't let it die. And that is what can drive them.
Wonderful. Where on social media can our followers and listeners find you as well? Do you have a social media?
I'm in everywhere. I don't, you know, it's funny. I'm not really using social media now as much as I used to, and it's changed my life. But really just going onto, you know, I have videos there and stuff there, but just going on my website and just anything Alex Boye official on Instagram. I'll post stuff in there now, just 2-minute things about either my kids or just positive things that I'm learning through the crazy stuff that I'm going through. So
good.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your story with us. What an amazing story and an experience. And I love just what you said. You know, you're going to go where you're looking at, and you can tell that you have such a positive attitude. I mean, it just comes right through the Zoom meeting, just feeling your positive attitude, your happiness, your love for people. And we really appreciate that. Thank you so much again for being on our podcast.
Please keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Keep doing what you're doing. You're blessing so many lives, like hundreds and thousands. I read up about what you guys are doing and how you just, you know, have just been shooting up and just spending so many just wonderful opportunities with people and blessing their lives. Thank you so much for doing that. You're one of the army right here, just doing your thing as a couple. And that's just such a blessing for me to see and a great example for me. So thank you.
Well, thank you so much.
We were honored to have you. So
yeah, absolute pleasure. We hope all of you enjoyed this podcast. And so until next time, we hope you find ultimate intimacy in your relationship. Thank you so much.
We love you.